I've spent a lot of time on this channel talking about things you shouldn't spend your money on in your 20s. Expensive cars, designer clothes, impulse purchases, things that drain your bank account without really ever improving your life. So today I want to flip that around. What should you actually spend your money on in your 20s? And no, I'm not talking about luxury watches or a $100,000 car. I'm talking about purchases that can actually make your life better, make you more capable, or, put you in a better financial position down the road. So here are my 5 best purchases to make in your 20s. Number 1, a reliable, affordable car. And I want to emphasize both of those words, right? Reliable and affordable. I don't think having a car is automatically a bad financial decision because for many people, a car is a necessity. Like for me growing up, when I first started working my, first corporate jobs and full-time jobs, I had to drive around 30 to 45 minutes one way to get to work, right? So obviously, I couldn't walk, I couldn't bike, all these things. And, public transportation in my area didn't really work to, get me to work. So sometimes you just need a car, right? So again, I don't think having a car is automatically a bad financial decision. For a lot of people, like I said, especially if you live somewhere without public transportation like me, a car is a necessity. You need to get to work, you need to get groceries, you just need to get around, right? But there's a massive difference between buying a reliable car that you can comfortably afford and buying the nicest car a bank will approve you for, right? You don't need a $70,000 car to get to work, right? You need something that's reliable, safe, and doesn't completely destroy your monthly budget. And ideally, you're not spending a huge portion of your income on the payment and insurance and gas and maintenance and all the other things that come with a car. Your car should help you live your life and not become the biggest expense in it, which is an epidemic that we have in today's society, especially with younger people. So if you need a car, get a good one, but just don't confuse expensive with good. Even just the other day, I was actually driving through this new neighborhood that I don't know if I'd ever been in my life or it had been a really long time, but I was like, wow, these houses are really, really nice. And I was looking at the cars in the driveway, and for the most part, there was nothing spectacular, right? So it's almost as if, a big bulk of wealthy people realize that, things like, for example, a car, unless you have just an absurd amount of money, dumping a bunch of your monthly spend or a bunch of your assets in terms of cash into a depreciating asset like a vehicle just doesn't make sense. Number 2, education and personal development. And I'm intentionally making this one kind of broad because I don't think everyone needs to go to university or college. For some people, a degree is absolutely going to be worth it, right? But for other people, learning maybe say a trade is the better option, right? Or maybe you learn, graphic design, programming. Maybe you're learning another language if you're going to be a translator or someone who lives in an area where, knowing 2 different languages is very important. Maybe you take a course, maybe you get a certification, maybe you learn sales, whatever it is. I think your 20s are a fantastic time to invest in yourself, right? I spent money personally on my education, and I've talked about my degrees in other videos. But some of the most valuable things that I've learned personally have also come from outside of school too, right? I've learned skills through YouTube, like graphic design, right? I've learned through working, I've learned from other people, I've learned through experience, and that's the important part, right? Don't just buy an education, buy skills. If you spend money on something that makes you more capable and potentially more valuable in the job market, that's an investment in yourself. Number 3 is your physical health. This one might not sound like a traditional quote unquote purchase, but I think it's incredibly important. Your health is one of the things that can affect literally every other part of your life, right? So exercise, eat good food, take care of yourself, and even something as simple as getting good sleep. I was actually talking about this in the comment section of another creator's video. Actually, multiple creators have been speaking about it recently. But think about how much of your life you spend sleeping, right? Roughly a third of your life you're going to spend sleeping. So if your mattress is terrible and you're waking up every morning feeling like you got hit by a truck, then maybe spending money on a better mattress is actually a pretty good purchase. And I'm not saying, again, you don't need a $5,000 mattress. You don't need, the most expensive gym membership in your area. You don't need every supplement known to mankind and all these crazy things that people sell, which a lot of times it's, kind of like snake oil. Just invest in the things that genuinely help you take care of yourself, right? Because your body is basically I like to call it kind of the vehicle you're going to be using for your entire life. So it's important that you take care of it. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't feel good, it's going to be a lot harder to enjoy that money and to just enjoy your life in general. A lot of times you hear from these super wealthy people and they say, like they can buy whatever they want, and they say, "What would you want to buy if you could? Like what would be the main thing that you want?" And a lot of them either say their health or time, right? And that's why it's so important to take care of yourself. And also, I could loop into here as well, not just physical health, but also mental health as well. I think it's a huge thing, especially for men who are watching this video, right? Take care of yourselves, right? You only have one body, one life, right? So make sure you're taking care of yourself. Number four is travel. And I already know some people are going to disagree with me on this one, and I might be a little bit biased, but I love traveling. And I genuinely think it's one of the best ways to spend your money, not only in your 20s, but throughout your entire life. And I'm not talking about flying first class and staying at a five-star resort every time you go somewhere. I'm talking about budget travel, right? Or at least being conscious about your spending when you're traveling. So I'm saying, go somewhere you've never been. Stay somewhere reasonably priced, hopefully, right? Try the local food, talk to people, see how other people live, and really just get outside of your hometown, right? Because when you spend your entire life in the same place, it's so easy to assume that the way you live is just how the world works, right? And travel changes that. You realize there's different cultures, there's different ways of living. People have different priorities, different perspectives. And I think that can be so incredibly valuable when you're young. And again, at any point in your life, right? So you don't have to spend $10,000 on a vacation. You can travel on a budget. You can save for it. You can plan ahead, and you can still have an incredible experience, right? It's not about the amount of money you spend on your vacation, right? It's easy to have a good vacation without spending everything you have in the bank, right? And again, maybe I'm biased because I love traveling, but I don't think I've ever regretted spending money on a good travel experience. Number five is investments. And if you've watched this channel for any amount of time, you probably knew this one was coming, but I've talked a lot about investing early on, and I'm probably going to, not probably, I'm definitely going to keep talking about it, right? Because I genuinely believe it's one of the most important things you can do with your money in your 20s, right? And I always say you don't need thousands of dollars to get started, right? Start with whatever you can, whether that be $25, 50, 100, whatever fits your situation. And the point isn't necessarily how much you invest on, day one of investing, right? I always say the point is building the habit of investing. Because when you're young, as I always say this too, again, I'm going to say sounds like a broken record, what you have that's so valuable is time, right? The earlier you start investing, the longer your money potentially has to compound, right? We talked about compound growth a little while ago on this channel. And eventually you want your money to start working alongside you, right? You're working your job, you're building your career, and you're potentially also building a side hustle, which is, investing, right? Or you also have a side hustle on the side as well, too, right? So it can all be a really powerful combination when you add it together. So what do these five purchases have in common? So they're not necessarily things that make you look rich, quote unquote. Sure, travel maybe a little bit, but it is what it is. A reliable car isn't flashy. Education isn't always flashy. Going to the gym isn't flashy, right? You're going to be sweating, all the details, right? Traveling on a budget, not super flashy, right? Traveling in general, like I said, maybe a little bit, but luxury travel is definitely the more flashy thing. And, investing, especially in small amounts, is probably the least flashy thing of all of those. But they can all contribute to making your life better. And that's something that I've really started to appreciate. I don't want to spend money just because something looks impressive. I want to spend money on things that actually provide value. And that doesn't mean every purchase needs to make me money, right? That's important. A vacation doesn't necessarily need to have a financial return, right? A mattress doesn't need to make you money, and it won't. But if those things improve your life, your health, your perspective, or, just your future in general, that's still value. And I think this is an important follow-up to all the videos I've made about saving money. I'm not telling you to never spend money, right? Spend it, that's what it's there for, but spend it intentionally and keep your future in mind, right? If something genuinely improves your life, don't feel guilty about buying it. If you're passionate about travel, travel, right? If you're passionate about fitness and, being in shape, spend money on your health. If you have done your research and you're going to get a good return on investment for your education and it's going to help you build the career you want, invest in it, right? If you need a car like me to get to work, you buy a reliable car, but a reliable, affordable car. And if you have money that you don't necessarily need, quote unquote, right now, invest it. The goal isn't to spend the least amount of money possible, right? Saving is important, but the goal is to get the most value possible from the money that you do spend. So my five best purchases to make in your 20s. Number one, a reliable, affordable car. Number two, education and personal development. Number 3, your physical health. Also, I'll toss in there again, as I mentioned before, your mental health as well, super important. Number 4, travel. And number 5, investments. And you'll notice something about this list, right? None of these, as we said, are really about impressing other people. They're about you, right? Your transportation, your skills, your health, your experiences, and your future. And honestly, that's probably the philosophy I want you to take away from this, right? Don't spend your money trying to look wealthy. Spend it on things that make you healthier, smarter, more capable, more experienced, and financially stronger. Because those are the purchases that can actually pay you back for years to come, right? They'll pay you back in the future. So that's it for today's video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like the video and you want to see other similar content and other financial content, feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you guys have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.